Well, we are pleased to welcome back an old KSL friend to Studio 5 today. He's a familiar face to many of you as a broadcaster for the Utah Jazz and a former, of course, KSL sports anchor too. But Alema Harrington is putting on the microphone today for a message that hits home for him personally. And I know it will to many Studio 5 viewers. Welcome to you, Alema. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel to be back at KSL?
It's strange sometimes to walk in this building. I haven't really been here extensively since 2002 when I left Channel 5, and some of the memories are kind of foggy, you know, because those that know my story, I was really struggling with my addiction at that time, especially at the end of my stay here. Yeah.
I want to talk more about your story. You're so bravely opening up, and you shared so bravely with our colleague Doug Robinson at the Deseret News this summer. He wrote a beautifully detailed article about your life and about your struggle. Why did you decide now was the time to open up about that? You
know, it's an interesting question because Doug had talked to me probably 5 years ago when I had first come back from Hawaii after going through treatment there after 2002, and I returned here, and Doug knew a little bit about my story, and we had talked, and I just didn't feel like it was the right time at that moment. And I was still struggling with some things, and eventually I was able to get back on track. I went through a couple of outpatient treatments, and then I went and got my SUDC, my substance use disorder counselor degree at UVU, and started working in the field. And then Doug and our paths crossed again, and I think we both kind of decided, you know, maybe now is the right time.
This is it. This is it. Well, take us back a little bit. How did the addiction start for you?
Well, it started back at BYU, and for me as a football player, I played at BYU in the mid-'80s, 84 through 88. And prior to that, I had played football, obviously, as a high school kid, but I'd never had any narcotics before. So the first time I had some narcotic painkillers, it made me feel fantastic. And I think, as with a lot of guys that deal with this, when you're done playing and you still have the pain and you have some emotional pain from maybe like an identity crisis because I'm not playing football anymore, then you start to lean on those coping tools that you had before, which has been the medication. And for me, it just got completely out of control. I had 2 back surgeries and a fusion in my L4-5, and so I had plenty of reasons to legitimately get pain medication, but I was abusing it to just feel okay, you know?
So you've opened up. You are, as I mentioned, bravely sharing your story. What have been the effects of this story? You've already, I know, heard great feedback and probably felt the ripple effects from your courageous, you know, sharing.
Yeah, it's been amazing how many people have come up to me, and whether it's about drug addiction or just other things that we're trying to hide, and getting over the shame and just being able to communicate, look, I need some help. And at the Jazz game, people will stop me. And it's really been great. I think it has allowed people to just feel more comfortable about having problems, because we all have problems, but I think a lot of us would rather stay sick than tell somebody else my problem, you know, because I'm embarrassed. I feel like I'm gonna be ashamed and they're gonna judge me, and so I just keep it to myself. And so hopefully what the story did and continues to do is let people know, hey, we all have our struggles, but we're not gonna get any better if I keep it to myself. I've got to talk about this, especially for those of us that struggle with addiction.
I'm curious to know, as you've gone back and kind of retraced your addiction path, you mentioned being in and out of addiction recovery. So what's making it work this time? What's sticking that's different than in times past?
I think one of the things that I really learned in 2002 when I went back to treatment in Hawaii, because I first went to treatment in '92 after I was done playing football at BYU. And what I realized is that the guys that were making it were guys that were continuing to work in the program, carrying the message. And I was active in church and I was doing a lot of different things, but I wasn't active in the addiction recovery community. And that's a big part of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is to carry the message. That's the 12th step of the program. And so as I recognized that, I decided, I made a decision for me, this time in my recovery, I've got to be active with other alcoholics and addicts. And I can tell you that it's the best thing that I do for my recovery today is the time that I spend with clients or in group sessions and being able to carry the message of hope.
I've interviewed people just like you who have struggled with addictions their whole lives too, and they do draw attention to that point 12, right? It's step 12 in the program, and a lot of people might dismiss that as a throwaway point, but staying in contact, you feel, with other people struggling with similar situations has really made a difference.
Absolutely, and I tell the clients that I work with, continually that this needs to become a lifestyle. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to go on a no drug diet, and then just like most diets, we rebound from that and we go back. The thing that has been beneficial is to create this lifestyle. I have sober support. I have people I can talk to that understand where I'm coming from, because it is a unique thing, and so that's beneficial.
Tell me more about your work and your outreach to help others. You're a counselor at the Renaissance Ranch. What do you do there? So
I'm a full-time SUDC counselor, so I'm a substance use disorder counselor. I meet with clients regularly, and then I have group sessions that I do on nights that I'm not doing a jazz game. And so I'm actively involved in helping people to find recovery. So I spend the majority of my day with clients, and then in the evenings doing groups. And
as you work with those clients, is there one emotional hurdle that you see is really tough for these people to overcome?
I think the biggest thing is honesty. People don't want to be honest, and it's because of the shame. So I think those two things are tied together. And if we can remove some of the shame, then it's easier for them to be vulnerable and be honest when they realize, okay, if you tell me the truth, I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to try to help you, but I can't help you until you tell the truth.
So is that good advice to people on the outside, maybe of those support circles, to drop the judgment? Anything else we can do from the outside looking in to support someone we know or love going through this?
I think one of the biggest things that you can do, we offer a support group for families. It's an educational group on Thursday nights, and it's open to anybody. You don't have to have somebody in your family, or if you just have an interest in learning about it, but certainly for the families that are dealing with that. Get some education about the disease that we're dealing with, and that's very beneficial, and it helps them understand, okay, how can I really be helpful? Because sometimes our instinctive reaction is not beneficial to the people that we love.
And you're very open about saying it's not about recovering, we continue to recover.
Absolutely. This is a lifetime deal for me and for all of us that are in recovery. And so I think the fun part about it for me is I think early when you're trying to get recovery, it's like, man, I have to do this for the rest of my life, and that's, nobody wants to do that. And then you get to a point where you see the benefits and they're so awesome that it's like, wow, I get to do this for the rest of my life. And that's the turning point. And when you get to that spot, then I think you're on your way.
I really admire what you're doing and the work you're doing. So thank you so much for stopping by to catch us up.
Thank you.
And tell us about it. We'll be right back.